College homepage, couple things for you to be aware of. If we go over to the menu over here and you go to your UC login, you can find access to Grammarly here. It's a grammar and writing tool that is provided to you by the Learning Commons. You can use it in browser or you can download the app. And we also have access to Microsoft 365. You can, if you don't already have access to Word, etc., maybe you're using Google or you're using LibreOffice, something like that, you're welcome to download that for free from the college as well. But if you're happy with what you're using and it's not that, that's also fine and dandy. I do want to say if you have any questions as we're going, feel free to ask them. Back to the college homepage, if we want to find the library, we're going to go to academics. We're going to go to library. And from here, we're going to click on this big blue button. A beautiful button. We've got our library hours here in the middle. And those will change. They're reduced for the summer. Normally we're open till midnight. They will also change if there's like inclement weather or for holidays, things of that nature. Those will all get posted up there. Over here on the left-hand side, we've got about the library. That's where you're going to find things like contact information, policies and procedures, all that good stuff. We've got Ask a Librarian. We do have a library chat that you can use right now. It's available from 9 to 5. Otherwise, you can use Ask a Librarian to contact us, and that will let you either find the contact information for the individual faculty librarians, or you can fill out the form, which will email all of us at one time. I'm going to scoot this little bar out of my way, and that way whoever's available will get back to you quickly. We have our citation help. We come back to citation help later, I promise. We have our ebooks. All of our books and ebooks are available through UC Search, which is what we call our discovery search. And so that lets you search kind of all, or at least almost all, of our resources simultaneously. And we'll get into that a little bit more, doing some live searches in that and in some of the subject-specific databases so that you can see how those things work. But if you're looking for a book or an ebook, that is the best place to go. However, if you just want to browse like a specific collection, you can hop on into the ebook section. We have our FAQ, we have our feedback form, we have interlibrary loan. Now, while I would love to tell you we're going to have every resource you could ever possibly need, that may not be the case. There are sometimes things that we don't have, but that we can request for our students. If that happens to be the case for you, you can request it via interlibrary loan. You can go to that link and see all the steps you need to complete that. We have laptop checkout. If you're not local to us, laptop checkout is not going to help you much. But if you do happen to be local and it's within your ability to come to campus to take advantage of some of these things, you can absolutely do that. Library orientation sessions. Tonight is specifically focused on counseling resources. However, if you ever wanted a refresher or you wanted to just see what we show everybody, go a little bit more in depth, you can also join one of the regular orientation sessions. We have some tutorials. Now, a lot of these tutorials are focused on using UC Search, but there are other good resources here as well. We have our makerspace, which again, if you happen to be kind of in the Tri-County area and you want to come see us, you're welcome to take advantage of that. And then we have our Appalachian Collection / the Governor Burt T. Combs papers. Many of these books are part of our rare book collection, so those are some things that we may not circulate and lend out, but that you can still get access to even if you're not local. We're happy to scan in the chapters you need or the documents you need, things like that. Okay. Coming back to the middle, we've got our UC Search. I already mentioned that. We'll get into all of this a little bit more in detail later. We do have study rooms available, so if you happen to be coming to campus because you are local or because you're in for a residency or something like that, and you know you're going to need a space to post up, you can reserve a study room. We do encourage people to actually reserve that space because they do book up pretty quick. We have databases A to Z, which is an alphabetical listing of all the databases that we have. And if you know what database you want to use, you can come here. But if you don't know what databases are available to you and you're not sure what the best resources for you are, the thing to do is to come to your research guide. So tonight we're going to get into the research guide for counseling, and this is kind of where all the good stuff is. Everything on here is somehow related to counseling. So we're on our top resources guide. We're going to hop down to the end and go into our citation tools first. And couple things, you are going to be using APA, of course. Couple things to know is that the Learning Commons is really your best spot to get help with grammar, citations, writing in general, anything like that. They have people who can read your papers. They have people who will review your papers, make suggestions, correct your grammar, help you fix your citations, all that good stuff. You can contact them for any help you need with that kind of thing. Their phone number is here, their email is here, and you can also go to the website and use that to schedule an appointment. We also have a tool to help you find a DOI, and we'll talk about that when we get a little bit further into Academic Writer. I'm going to pop you up for a second, and you can either talk or you can put this into the chat box, whatever you're most comfortable with. But are you currently using any kind of bibliographic manager?
No, I haven't had a need to yet. I'm just barely starting out.
Okay. So if you have used one in the past or you've heard ones that people have recommended, there's a lot of different ones. There's Zotero, there's Mendeley, there's Perla, there's EndNote, there's RefWorks, there's on and on and on. Academic Writer falls into that same category. The reason that we specifically provide access to and discuss using Academic Writer is because it is actually created by the APA, so it's kind of considered like an authoritative source, right? Who knows more about the APA than the APA? So if there was one that you've tried before that you're like, I think I'm just going to go back to that, no one is here to be like, don't you dare. But we are going to talk about Academic Writer just so you can kind of see what it can do. So in Academic Writer, it does require you to log in. Now, you are kind of logged in already. If you have used your iLearn, if you have used your email, if you have used a different library resource and it had that little UC login where you have to authenticate and do all that good stuff pop up, that's the same login you're going to use for all the library resources. And that's why you can't bookmark anything I'm showing you. You can bookmark your research guide. You can bookmark the library page. You can bookmark this library page. But any of the databases or resources like Academic Writer, it doesn't work to bookmark them because essentially by going through the link on the page, that URL resolves through a login and it says you belong to University of the Cumberlands. So right now I'm not logged in as me. I'm logged in as a UC member. Now, if I come down to my references and I say go to my references, it's going to ask me to sign in. If I've never done that before, I can create an account for free. But I still need to always go through that citation help page first. I'm going to click login. And you can see I have a lot of references here, right? So I can come in here and I can view my references, I can edit my references, or I can add new references. So I'm going to click add reference and I can choose anything from this big old list, or I can just click import. Now, if I choose something from the list, I have to kind of fill all of this in manually. If I choose to import something, I'm going to have to select my file origin. It makes you select a file origin, but I truly cannot emphasize enough how much this does not matter. So just pick one. Uh, I swear, I think it's just data gathering, frankly. So I'm going to choose this little guy here. He's an RIS format, and I'm going to hit submit. And then I can view my imported record, and the record I've just imported is always going to be my first result. So I'm going to hit edit. And I need to come in here and fix this hot mess because my author name is all messed up. Well, there we go. It's going to scroll for me. I have one author name and it's incorrect. And I have a URL instead of a DOI. So we're going to take our URL and we're going to see if we can gather up all of the information that is missing. So, here we go. It's going to get there eventually. Here we go. So in the interest of speed, I'm not going to enter all of these authors, but just to give you an example of how editing works, I want you to be able to see this. So I'm going to delete this one, and I'm going to add somebody in here. I'm going to and first initial, save and format. It's going to pop that in there for me. And it will add them down there because it does see that there's supposed to be a bunch of authors, but they're missing. So I can delete all of that. But again, in the interest of time, we're not going to spend too much on just fixing that. We also have a problem with our title. And the problem with our title is that this is formatted in, I guess, title style instead of sentence case. And in APA format, you should format it as a sentence. So we're just going to click that button and it's going to fix it. And if you are using APA for real, you can turn all those pop-up boxes off after the first time. Okay, so this is now correct. So we're good there. Now we need to talk about, oh, is my journal name correct? Oh, it is really named the Journal of Extension. How funny. Okay. All right. So DOI versus URL. A DOI is called a digital object identifier. And according to APA standards, you should use a DOI whenever it is available. They are not universally available. They are largely available, but sometimes there are cases where they are not used. That's because the journal publisher has decided not to participate in the program because it is voluntary, or something is too new, or something is too old, and a DOI has not yet been assigned to it. So in the meantime, if you don't find a DOI in your article, in your database, there is another place that you can check. So there's no DOI listed here, so I'm going to take the title of my article, and I'm going to come back to that citation help page, and in Crossref, so I'm going to go to find a DOI, and I'm just going to paste that title in. Okay, so it is here, which means that I do have a DOI available to me, so I can copy and paste that into my citation and correct my citation. So I'm going to switch this from URL to DOI, and I'm going to paste that in. I don't need that first part, so I can delete that. There we go. So now this is considered more correct. If no DOI was available, that URL would have been accepted. And I do really want to emphasize that your professors do check for that. And so if you put in a URL instead of a DOI, they will absolutely push back and say, why? Why didn't you give me the DOI? And you need to be able to say, I checked in the database and there was no DOI. I checked in Crossref and there was no DOI. So I had to use the URL. Because they will check, and sometimes they will ask me to check. So that's how I know they're checking. The other thing that you can do here is you can add a tag to this. So if you wanted to be able to organize your results, you could add a tag. So we're going to do that. We're going to update our references, and now I can go back to my reference list. And if I wanted to see everything with that same tag, I could click on that and it would organize it for me. So that's one way that you can kind of organize up and see all of your information very nicely put together. Now, up to this point, everything that I'm doing is pretty standard. There's nothing that you can't do in other bibliographic managers. What makes Academic Writer really unique, besides the fact that it's actually by the APA, is when we come over here to our little write section. So you can start a new paper and they've got all kinds of templates for you, but we're going to go ahead and go to a paper that I've already got started. And I'm going to go to my allergy paper. I'm a little squeaky this week, and it's 100% due to my greatest enemy, pollen. All right, so we're going to go to our title page, and you can set up anything you need. So one thing that I like about Academic Writer, and this did not exist when I was in school, and I'm very jealous because I was an MLA girly all the way through undergrad, and then I got to grad school and had to learn to do APA, and they can't make me love it. I'm just going to tell you the truth. But when you're in APA, you can have Academic Writer help you set up your paper format. So if that's an issue or something you don't enjoy doing and you want to kind of zip that process along, you can come in here and you can have your paper formatted for you. You can come in and you can add your author information. It's going to set up all that stuff for you. You can come into the body, and this is where I really like Academic Writer, is you can let it generate your citations for you. So I'm going to let me just pick a spot. We'll put a citation right here. I'm going to insert a citation. So I'm going to click insert. I'm going to go to find and cite a reference. And I could search by my tag, or I could search by the name of the author I just added. And I can add this reference. So I'm going to select it. I'm going to hit cite. And I'm going to say that this is a parenthetical and that I want it to be a quotation. If it's more than one page, or if I'm citing it by paragraph, I can do that. But right now, I'm just going to go for, I'm going to say this is page 17, and I'm going to type in some nonsense. Dust is not a seasonal allergy, although it can contribute to the suffering of seasonal. Oh, I can't spell seasonal. Look at that. Allergy havers. Okay, now you will see that I'm not adding any punctuation, any formatting, any information on my author. And when I hit submit, it's going to generate all of that for me. I didn't spell contribute right either. This is what I get for typing on a laptop. Okay, so once this is in here, all of this is done. Now, it did not just make my citation for me, did not just make my in-text citation for me. So I could, if I wanted to, type everything into Academic Writer. You don't have to. I don't necessarily recommend it, but specifically for generating your in-text quotations, it's a very handy dandy little tool, but it doesn't just add it here. It also adds it in your reference list. Oh, I have no idea how long you've been since you asked your question. I've just been talking away. But I can see that you did say something in the chat.
Don't worry,
So
I just wanted to remember it, so I thought I'd put it there to remember for later.
so typically it's only journal articles. That can apply to web pages that contain journal articles like open source journals and things like that. But a book would be more likely to have like a ISBN.
Okay.
But it's only digital items, and it kind of varies, but it like if a book has a DOI, it is probably applied to a chapter of a book rather than to the book.
Okay, and what
And
about
that
like
is
a web
because they're
page?
often republished articles. So
Okay.
it is a
Okay.
little confusing, and that is a good question. Although I think that's the first time anybody's asked me that, but typically it is confined to like articles.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, so it also added it to my reference list. So now I can export this, and I can choose to export only my reference list, and you do not have to add quotations or anything to use this to generate your reference list. You can just kind of come in here and use it to do that also. But I'm going to download my paper for only the 21st time. I should come in here and really delete a lot of these. uh, Clean this out some. Okay, so you can see that I've got my, you can see that I've got all my formatting here, and that includes my header and page numbers on the second page. And then we can come down and we see my full reference list. So this is a great way to kind of get things set up for you. Now, I will say this is not perfect. This is not a faultless tool. And none of the bibliographic managers can claim that. If something exports incorrectly, which is probably what happened here, where I had all of that information missing, it was probably a mistake in how it exported the document. If something like that happens, you're going to have an imperfect result when you import. So at the end of the day, it is your responsibility to proofread or copy edit or whatever you want to call it, your documents. But I encourage you to take advantage of this tool because it can still kind of help you get there faster so that you're doing the proofreading and the copy editing instead of all of this from scratch. It will definitely speed up your process. Okay, any questions about Academic Writer?
No, I think I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we will keep on trucking then. Close that window, close that window. I always end up with so many tabs open. Okay, back to our research guide. So we're going to go back to counseling. We have some tutorials for you. Good info here, including on how to use our ebooks, how to use PsycTest, some of the tools available in PsycInfo. We have our government documents. These are all tailored to your area of study. Same with the web pages. These are either professional organizations or resources your professors have asked us to share. We have multimedia. Now, I want to point out specifically Alexander Street and Films on Demand. I would say that counseling are our power users when it comes to our multimedia databases, and your professors will assign you videos from those databases. If there's ever a time when one of the links they've assigned you doesn't work, you can always go by title and check in the database and it will come up for you. We have books and ebooks. We do have the DSM-5 and the DSM-5 TR available full text online now, and I'm going to have at least another year with it before I stop being excited about it, because for the first 16 years of my time at University of the Cumberlands, we did not have that, and people were asking for it. So just recently, they have made that possible. So we pulled that out, and we pulled out some of the little subsections for you as well. We also have some treatment planners linked and some other reference resources listed out for you. We have some additional resources, a couple to point out. For counseling, you do have to take a test. Some of the practice tests are available through Learning Express Library. We also have some testing study resources on the top resources page as well. We also have mental measurements yearbook and test in print. Now, there is a little bit of confusion, it seems, floating around with this, and some professors have previously recommended that their students purchase mental measurements yearbook and test in print as a supplemental text, quote, because the library doesn't have it. Now, I'm not going to argue with your professors about what should or should not be one of your texts. What I am going to say is we totally have it, and if it was me, I would maybe not spend $150 to $200, but that's a personal choice that you get to make. But it is here if you need it. So we do have all these great resources here. Now, everything that's on additional resources is kind of a bonus content to you. The things that are on the top resources and the journals page are really the best things. One other thing that I do want to point out is the statistical abstract. And the reason that I take the time to point that out specifically is because it is one of the few things that does not integrate into that UC search, into that big, giant monster search that you can do, because it's kind of a weird little guy. But if you are looking specifically for data, just straight up numbers on different topics, you can come in here and you can see all of this wonderful data. So if I wanted to look specifically for something related to, say, mental health, I could do that. And I could see things on treatment facilities, care delay, anything like this, and I could just boop, click on that, and it's going to show the data on that. So if you get into research that is specifically related to the numbers of it all, this is a great place to come. This is all information gathered by our federal government. You can see the URL, you can see your citation, you can see your source, all good stuff. But you're not going to see that if you don't come look for it specifically, because it is not capable of integrating with any of our other resources. Okay. Counseling journals. All the journals that are listed out like this are what we call a la carte purchases. That means we cannot get these journals as part of a larger database. Some of them are integrated into UC Search, but I don't think all of them can even be integrated into UC Search. What that means for you is if these subject-specific journals are related to the area of study that you are getting into, you may want to come and look at these journals as opposed to just searching the databases. You can do both, but you may want to take the time to come and browse through here as well. Okay. And that brings us back to our top resource page. We've got all kinds of good things on here. The thing that I do want to point out to you is that there are a couple resources here that are maybe not the best resources. So for example, 5-Minute Consult and UpToDate specifically are clinical tools. Mental Measurements Yearbook and Test and Print are going to talk about assessment tools. That's what they're for. Sage Research Methods it's so specific, I'm not even going to get into that. But there are things here that are not necessarily your top for going to go find articles. So having said that, I'm going to give you the 5 things that are your top for going to find articles. APA Psych Articles, APA Psych Info, Psychology and Behavioral Sciences, Sage Journals, and the Sociological Collection. And I know I talk fast, so I'm going to say them one more time. And you will have access to this recording later. It will get posted up over here. APA Psych Articles, APA Psych Info, Psychology and Behavioral Sciences, Sage Journals, and the Sociological Collection. We're going to do some searching. So we're going to go into psych articles. Now, when we talk about using the subject-specific databases, it is not necessarily an all or nothing proposition. If I come over and I do my search in UC Search, I'm searching almost everything at the same time. That can be a lot. If I come over here and I do this in one database specifically, maybe that's not enough. The good news is for our counseling people, you can search 4 out of your top 5 simultaneously. Any database that's part of the same family, the same host family, in this case, EBSCO, can be searched together. So if I click on APA Psych Articles, it's going to pop up a little list of all those other resources, and I can add Psych Info, I can add Psychology and Behavioral Sciences, and I can add the Sociological Collection. So the only one of my top 5 I'm not searching is Sage. Now, I know that y'all have a topic coming up or that you're going to be researching, and that is wellness. So I am going to take that as my example. However, if there's a specific topic that you would like to see, if you want to put that into the chat box for me, just so I can make sure I'm understanding and spelling everything correctly, I am happy to also use that as my demo. But we're going to start with wellness just because I kind of know that y'all are in that already. All right. So, wellness, in we go. Over here in my subject-specific databases, and remember, I'm searching 4 databases now. I have 150,504. If I take that same topic over in my UC search and I paste it in, and I hit search, and it actually searches, I'm going to have 353,000 results. So there's a few reasons that number is so high compared to my other search. Number one, this is searching everything. So it's searching business databases. So wellness has become a real business, right? This is a billion-dollar business every year. Buy this supplement, do this thing, do this workout, pay for this, pay for that. That's wellness, right? So you're going to get topics here that are not necessarily related to this from necessarily a mental health perspective, but from a physical health perspective, from a financial perspective, from a business perspective, all of those things are going to come up. In the databases, you're also not going to be seeing things like business, oh gosh, like books and videos, and those things will also come up here as well as reference entries. So all of those things are going to come up here as well. So not everything here is going to apply to you in the same way that resources in the subject specific databases, I still didn't get this little guy all the way out of my way, are going to apply to you. And so that's why you kind of got a double-edged sword here. This is more specific, but you're not seeing everything available. This gives you more results, but you're going to see a lot of things that don't apply. So you kind of have to pick and choose whether you want to see a big number or you want to be more specific. Most of the time, being more specific is going to be more beneficial to you. What we know from research is that people don't typically go past 3 pages of scrolling. So the bigger your search is, the less specific your search is, the harder it's going to be to find the targeted information that you need because it's lost down on page 20 and you're on page 2. So being more specific can help you have a more structured search. We can do that by setting what we call limiters or filters. Oh, okay, perfect. So when we get into these searches, using our limiters or filters can help us make our search more functional for us. So everybody's kind of used to Google now. I feel like Google dominates. But back in the dark ages, when I was in school, Google didn't exist. Google came about like right about the time I was getting ready to graduate, I think. And prior to that, everything used Boolean searching. Now, most things use what is called natural language searching. Google uses natural language searching, and that means that it searches the way that we speak. So I can say, "Hey Google, what was that episode of Stargate where they were hitting golf balls through the gate and it was kind of like Groundhog Day?" And Google is probably going to come back with an answer for me that is accurate, or at least a very close guess. The databases are not built for that, and they have started adding natural language searches. You can see that there's a button here. I do not recommend using the natural language searches because they're not good at it. I feel like probably in another year or two, I won't be saying that, but right now, that's still true. So we really want to think about what we're doing in terms of using language strategically. One of the first things we can do is we can set a full text filter. If you've ever done a search and you clicked on an article and the article wasn't there, and you went back and you clicked on another article and the article wasn't there, all you're getting is summaries. That's because you did not switch to a full text search. Using full text makes it so that you only see articles to which you have immediate access. And that is going to both narrow your search down. I cut off almost 90,000 results here. But it's also just going to make it so that you don't have that frustration of, nope, I can't get that one. Nope, I can't get one. Now, if you see one that's not full text that you really want to get your little hands on, you can request that from Interlibrary Loan. But start with full text. If what you need isn't here, you can always expand it. But it can really cut out a lot of that frustration of not finding what's immediately available to you. Next, we're going to choose peer-reviewed, and I will ask you, rather than making you sit through this spiel, do you feel comfortable and confident identifying a peer-reviewed article?
Probably not.
Say that again?
Probably not. It's been a really long time since I've been in school.
Okay, so if the answer is probably not, we'll go into it a little bit in detail. So peer-reviewed articles, academic journal articles, and scholarly articles are all the same thing. Different professors in different databases may use slightly different language, but those three things are interchangeable. So if you're in a database and it says peer-reviewed, click that button. If you're in a database and it says scholarly, click that button. If it says academic, click that button. Sometimes it will have both of those buttons, so I can say I want to see only academic journals and peer-reviewed. Because I'm searching multiple databases, there may be some different language at work, so that's why it's going to offer me that. And then you also want to narrow this down by date, so we're going to say the past 5 years. Peer-reviewed articles are built on a concept of expertise having value. So, as a librarian, I will be writing about libraries. I will not be writing about math. I personally feel like they should give me a shot because I think I could break math and I'd like to try it. All right. If anybody could do it, it would be me. That's how bad at math I am. So nobody wants me writing for a mathematics journal. That is not my area of expertise. So I'm going to write my article about academic libraries. Additionally, my editors are going to be my peers. That's peer review, right? So peer review is just a fancy way to say my editors were my peers. So that means there's another layer of expertise on that. When we click that button, we're narrowing it down to journals that contain peer-reviewed articles. That does not mean every article we get is going to be peer-reviewed because those journals do not require peer review for things like editorials, reviews, letters to the editor, trade publication information, that kind of thing. So those things may still appear in these scholarly journals that do not meet that peer-reviewed criteria. So there are some visual cues in addition to limiting it to that journal that you can look at. One is length. Scholarly articles are typically more in depth, and that means that they are longer. An article that is only 1 or 2 pages long is probably not going to meet the criteria. They can be upwards of 50 to 100 pages long. So short little dribbles are probably not going to get you where you need to go. So that's one of the things that you can look for. Is this longer? The next thing that you can look for is the language that they're using, because this is our next layer of expertise. There is an expectation that the people reading these articles will also be experts, right? I am also not only not going to write for a math journal, I'm not going to go pick up and read a math journal. That's a hard no thank you from me. So I would not have the technical expertise needed to understand what I'm being told. But a library journal, yeah, I can pick that up and hit it. So I'm writing with the expectation that my audience has the background knowledge and understanding to understand what I'm doing, to comprehend what I'm talking about. So you can look for technical language and professional terms, and that can be another visual cue for you. Then the next one is expert sources. So we've got expert authors, expert editors, expert readers, and expert sources. And our expert sources are our references, our works cited, what have you. You write a paper, you cite your sources. They write a paper, they cite their sources. This is kind of the easiest, most obvious visual cue, right? If a thing has 0 references, or it has only 1 or 2 references, or it has like a photo credit, or it just mentioned the previous article without going in depth into a reference, things like that, those will not meet the criteria of a scholarly article. So that can help you decide whether or not the article you're in is scholarly. It can also help you because you can use that reference list to build out your own list of references. Are there other articles that you feel would help your research from that reference list? Okay, so let's take a look at one of the results we've got. We've still got too many results, but we're going to make that smaller. I'm trying to find one that's a little older just so that I can use it as an example. This one will get the job done. Okay. So, access options, PDF or online full text. When it gives you that choice, always choose the PDF because that's going to be the most like it was originally published. So as you scroll, you can see this has the formatting and page numbers that it would have had when it was published originally. And even though this is only 7 pages, this would meet the qualifications of a scholarly article. Okay, we're going to go back to our article. We want to make sure we always review our abstract because what you don't want to read, I don't care if it's 7 pages or if it's 70 pages, you don't want to read it and find out that it's not related to what you're interested in, right? That's a waste of your time. Always read your abstract. We have our author information, and this can help me decide whether or not I think they would be experts in my area. And then I also have my references. So this reference list, they really built this out to be a much more helpful tool than it used to be. If something is available in the database I'm in, it will give me access to it. If it does not give me that access, then it's going to say check for full text. This is kind of broken right now. So sometimes this is working and sometimes it's not. If we have it in another database, it should show you that. If we don't, it should offer you the opportunity to request it from Interlibrary Loan. The other thing, so if it doesn't work, you can just go to UC Search and do a search for it, or you can go to Find Journals by Title and do a search for it. But it's like 50-50 right now, so hopefully they'll have it fixed permanently soon. I can also go to Cited By, and I really like Cited By because you are going to find that for many of your assignments, you are told to use things within the last 5 to 7 years, maybe the last 5 to 10 years. And that's the limit. References are always going to be older than the article that is citing them. Cited by is always going to be newer than the article that it was cited from. So this particular article cited the article that we're in. So using concepts from trauma-informed care was cited in undergraduate nursing students' perspectives of trauma-informed care. So this takes me forward. That can be really helpful in building out my reference list also. Okay, if I wanted to cite this article, I could come over here and I could get my citation. I could export that citation. You're going to choose typically an RIS format. For academic writer, always an RIS format, but unless you're using one of these specific things, pretty much always an RIS format. That's good to go. You can also download your article, and I encourage you to download your articles. I don't like the bookmarks. I don't like the folders because even though I'm signed in and it says my EBSCO, I'm not me. I'm just University of the Cumberlands, right? I'm not Carrie. It doesn't say Carrie's EBSCO. And so if I bookmark this and I go away and my session time's out and I come back, it's gone. If I add it to the folder, same story. So I don't like this because I feel like people sign in so many times that it becomes confusing where you are and are not signed in, and people think they've saved things and they have not. But if you download it, you know what? You have it. It's there, you've got it, you're good to go. So I encourage you to download these things. If we go back to our article for a second, or to an article, one of the other things that we want to look at is, are there subjects and or keywords or descriptors? Sometimes they're called descriptors. But I can come in here and I can see here are my keywords. And then here are my subjects. So if I am navigating this and I need to make my search bigger or I need to make my search more specific, whichever direction I'm going, I might need help determining what words are better. Maybe I need to tighten my search up. Maybe I'm not getting the results I need because I'm using terminology that's a little old, or sometimes we use terminology that's a little new. Often in the field, we start using terms that are not yet necessarily out there in the journals yet. So we have to think about what terminology might I find. So if we can find one or two good articles and we can look at those subjects, we can look at those keywords, that can help us manipulate our language a little bit. Okay. Any questions so far?
No, I think I'm good right now. Thank you.
Okay, so let's talk about Boolean modifiers. Hey, I love a Boolean modifier. Okay, you can use Boolean modifier in all of the databases, and you can use Boolean modifiers in your search engines. Like I said, Google uses natural language searching. So it searches the way that we speak. The databases, and one of the reasons that natural language searching in the databases doesn't work well is because they're not built for it. Okay, they are built to use Boolean logic and they want you to speak to them in their language. So we're going to use Boolean modifiers to do that. And Boolean is a total nonsense word. So if it sounds like nonsense to you, that's because it is. But there are 5 Boolean modifiers that are most impactful, and they are and, or, not, quotation marks, and truncation. We don't really ever need to type the word and in. So if I type wellness and counseling, I don't need the word and to be present for it to work in my search. And what that really means, what and means, is I'm searching for 2 keywords. Right here, 2 keywords. If I manipulate my search a little bit, I might not have and there anymore. So for example, I might say or self-care and counseling. Those terms could be considered synonymous or lets me search for separate search strings. So I could add another or and put in self-management, which is another synonymous term. I could put in a lot of other, I could play around with my language with that. You could even go and use something that's completely opposite, although typically that's not really beneficial to your search, but if you wanted to, you could. But wellness counseling or self-care counseling. So instead of these being 4-ish keywords, depending on how you count self-care as 1 or 2 words, I'm getting 2 phrases of keywords. So one 2-word, 1, 2 or 3-word, depending on how you count that key phrase. Now, I want to make my search a little bit more specific. So I'm going to put self-care into quotation marks. There is kind of an and there. That's why I say it's kind of 1 word, kind of 2 words. So if I put that into quotation marks, my search is going to, maybe I'm lying to you about that. Nope. I did this exact same search last night and I did not have this problem, but that's fine. That's fine. My search is just nice and tight. It's all good. Um, I love a surprise in my demonstrations. When we are playing with language, when we put things into quotation marks, we take it from being a specific, we take it from being keywords to key phrases. So we put something into quotation marks. So we say, I only want to see it exactly as I've written it. And so that has an impact on our search in terms of I only want to see a specific thing. I only want to see technical terminology. A good example of this is positive behavior, something in support. It'll come to me. And when we search for PBIS, if we search for each of those individual terms, intervention, positive behavior, intervention, and support. If I search for those 4 terms, those are 4 very generic words. They're going to hit a lot of results. If I put that into quotation marks, more narrow search. So when we play with the quotation marks, we get a more specific search. Now, in this case, my search was already too specific, so it didn't need that, but that's all right. So we're going to go back to wellness and counseling for a minute. Of 775 results, I'm going to make my search bigger by using the next Boolean modifier, which is what we call truncation. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see that better. I've got my little asterisk here. And that means I'm searching for all the possible suffixes of a word. So my search went up. So wellness and counseling, counselors, counseled, the British spellings here, throwing in some extra L's and U's and goodness only knows what else. I'm getting all of those things. If I only search for counseling, I only get counseling. If I asterisk that and truncate it, I get all the possible suffixes from my search. So that gives me the way to expand my search without having to continually do each of those individual words over and over and over again. So we've got and, or, quotation marks, truncation. I'm going to get rid of something, and that uses not. So I want to remove, let's get rid of trauma. I want to know about wellness in a context that is not just dealing with trauma, okay? I'm going to get rid of some results by doing that. I could say I want to know about wellness and counseling related to the counselors, but not the patients. I'm going to get rid of some different results by doing that. So not takes a word out of my search. This is really helpful if you're finding a lot of results related to a specific area. For example, for some reason, probably my nieces are both nurses as I say this. For some reason, there's a lot of research relating to wellness and nurses. And I'm sure that is because nurses need all the help they can get. So if I come in here and say not nurses, I could even come in here and truncate that and say not nurse. So I get nurses, nurse, and nursing. I can pull a specific thing out. So if you're searching for like neurodivergent and you're getting a lot of results on autism and it's making it hard for you to find other research, you could take autism out. The same thing goes for like English language learners or English as a second language in the United States. The vast amount of research is focused on Spanish speakers. If you wanted to try and find other groups, you might remove them from your search. So, and or not, quotation marks, and truncation. Any questions?
Nope, makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. The last thing that I do want to point out is if there is an article that you would like to see that's in like the references, for example, and it doesn't come up as immediately available and you do run into an issue, you can take that and you can say, I want to see this article from the World Journal of Psychiatry. And you can come over to the library homepage and do a find journals by title. And if it auto completes, that means we have it somewhere. And it's going to show you where we have it and what date. So it's from 2011 and forward in PubMed. So you can go to that. That's an open access thing. So you'll be able to get to that. But that's just one of the ways that you can find it. I'm going to try and take that article title though and just show you. I'm going to have to up my interlibrary loan demonstration game because they've changed this a little bit. So if I search for this and I wanted to see this article from the database, I could search for that. It says that it's open access. If there was an article that I did not have available full text, it would also give me a chance here to interlibrary loan it. Okay, is there anything I didn't cover that you wanted to know about?
Nothing that I can think of.
Okay. When you get into this in the next few days, if you start doing your research and you have questions, you may have noticed my contact information is literally everywhere. I'm very easy to contact. Feel free to reach out if you have questions. Otherwise, thank you so much for being the only person to join me tonight, and you have a lovely evening.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.